responsibility. And I have never defended what we did or said it was the right and brilliant thing to do. No. But I will say that in my own family, I have 4 siblings, and among the 5 of us, we made 5 choices. One of us joined the Democratic Party and tried to build a peace wing within it. One of us ran away to Europe. One of us went to a commune and built free land and free love. My favorite option. One of us went into the industrial corridor of the Northeast and tried to organize workers to oppose the war. And one of us founded the Weather Underground. Now tell me which one of those 5 had the right strategy. I would argue none of them. And tell me which one was completely crazy. I would say none of them. But that doesn't mean I'm defending myself or the choices I made. Certainly not commending it to you. But as I say, when 6,000 people are being murdered by your government, you have a responsibility to do something. And my 4 siblings and myself, each of us did something. And we're still good friends today, even though we did different things. So, another question. Yes, ma'am. Say it loud.
I read an article in the newspaper that was talking about how the way in which Obama and moderate, he pushes the envelope and shuts along his head. And I was wondering if you think that that approach to change, very moderate, slow, but gradual and still progressive change is better than trying to take something, a big chunk out of something. I mean, how do you think it works?
Well, I think most theories of change are badly flawed. I mean, most theories of change, if you take a theory of change like, kind of gradual progressivism, you can't say much for it. Or if you take a theory of change like Marxist revolution, you can't say much for it, because the unintended consequences in all of those models, as models, are overwhelm what you intended to do. So I don't have an answer to your question about what's the best way to approach change, but what I do know is that if we, all of us, open our eyes, try to think through how to change the debates, how to change the discussion. I was talking about how the metaphor around gay stuff has changed, and the metaphor around education needs to change. And you can think of a lot of examples. Every newspaper in America has a business section, but not a labor section. Isn't that interesting? I mean, we never question it. We never wonder about it. And there's no section in the newspaper called human rights. There's called the world, but it's not called international human rights, right? So we need to change the discussion. But I don't think that, as long as you started by pointing at the Obama administration, I'll just reiterate, I'm sorry, and for his approach. I think that he is the President of the United States, and the President of the United States does what the President of the United States will do. But if you think that the President of the United States ought to make peace, or ought to, let's take one thing he said this weekend. He said we ought to lessen, lower the numbers of nuclear warheads, and we ought to work for a nuclear-free world. I agree with that. Now, let's make sure he does it. How do we do that? We build an anti-nuclear weapons movement. We say that we agree with Dennis Kucinich that we need a Department of Peace. Somebody who works full-time, gets up in the morning and works full-time around peaceful alternatives. Look, no matter what you think about how great this country is, and in many ways it has been and is a great country, but no matter what you think about it, we have 150 military bases around the world. What the hell do we think that's going to do? And not only do we have 150 military bases, the entire world spends $2 trillion a year on armaments and war. We spend $1 trillion of that. So we spend half of what the rest of the world spends. So you can say, we come in peace. It reminds me of that science fiction movie. We come in peace, boom. That's how the world sees us. I was at the World Social Forum. One of the things also that we need to do to really make change, not answering your question, that's okay. One of the things we need to do is we need to defeat what my friend Pauline Lippman calls the Tina hypothesis. What's the Tina hypothesis? There is no alternative, right? We have to believe and we have to promulgate the idea that another world is possible. Can you imagine a world without nuclear weapons? I can. I want to. I want to work with you to make that imagination real. So what can we imagine? And what can we what can we do to make that World Social Forum kind of reality come true? I was at a World Social Forum meeting in Brazil a couple years ago, and there were maybe 50 nations in this one workshop that I was in. The guy had a world map, and he asked people in the room, how many of you have an American military base either in your country or within a couple of neighboring countries in your region? Everyone put their hand up. Everyone. And then he said this, which I thought was interesting. I never thought of it. Then he said, how many of you are from countries that have military bases within the United States? And everybody laughed. It's just like, you're like, how absurd. Well, we wouldn't have an Italian air base in the Catskills, would we? That's insane. And yet, an American air base in the Italian Alps, that's sensible. What the hell? Who do we think we are? And not only an American air base, but around that American air base, all the things that come with it. Bars and prostitutes and all the other crap that we bring with us. So, yes, I think the world has a good reason to distrust us. And I think we have a responsibility on the question of peace to raise very noisy voices about the fact that we need to learn to live as a nation among nations. Not the uber nation, not that arrogant, sickening, slippery, the world's only superpower. That's, boy, is that going to be going in an eye blink. You know, are you kidding? I mean, the rise of China, the rise of Europe, the rise of the South, forget about it. So how are we going to learn to live? And when I said earlier, I'll stop with this, I haven't answered this, sorry, but that's okay. I'm forgetting myself. One of the things, when I said before that we need to stop looking at Obama and start looking at ourselves, I was thinking about Detroit, which is a city that, you know, at the turn of the last century had 500,000 people. In mid-century had about 3 million, and now it's down to 500,000 again. If you want to see a bombed out, burned out, you know, core, you know, kind of shell of what industrial America once looked like, that's it. Go see Detroit. You'll see a hobo village as big as this town, right on the outskirts of downtown. You'll see people, and yet, here's the other thing you'll see. You'll see people who are self-activated around changing their lives. I'll give you just one tiny example. I was so impressed with the activists there because they're neither whiners nor are they traditional demonstrators. They're organizers, and they're organizing in two ways. One is to press an alternative to what is. It's kind of endless kind of cycles of consumption and growth and empire. But at the same time, they're kind of self-sufficient freaks. So, I'll give you one example. Went to a high school for pregnant girls in downtown Detroit, public high school. And as the city has declined and as neighborhoods have collapsed, these brilliant science teachers at this high school have been reclaiming the lots around the school. As a building is abandoned, they claim the lot. And what are they doing? Well, they started by gardening. But within 2 years, they weren't gardening any longer, they were farming. And by that I mean they were producing surplus to sell in the city. So now they've got a farm. They built a barn 2 years ago, and somebody donated a couple of horses. Now they grow chickens and rabbits and a couple of other things that I don't remember and didn't recognize. And horses, they have 2 horses. And I'm there on a Saturday just poking around, and a couple of guys sitting on a stoop across the street in their early 20s come over, and I asked them, what do you think of this school? They said, oh, it's a great school, and we help with the barn, but mostly the girls do the work themselves. But we like the school. I said, what do you like most about it? This one kid says, well, the last Dominick's deserted our neighborhood 2 years ago, and I can still get fresh vegetables right here at the school, and I can come and get a chicken. They'll kill it and clean it for me for $3. And he said, that's pretty good. You know, so I'm not waiting for the grocery store to come back. I'm going to devote myself to the farm. Well, shit. You know, we should all devote ourselves to the farm. You know, that's what I think that's part of where change comes from. I think that's part of where change comes from. You don't want to beg for a big box store to move into Detroit. You want to say, no, we're going to change our lives and we're going to take responsibility